how we deal with things maybe not working out as we expect and how we kind of resolve that within ourselves.
This is how legends are made.
Recently I was talking about vulnerability and uniqueness, in particular in context with the Brené Brown work of kind of owning our sense of vulnerability, owning that we aren't perfect, and that shield we often put in front of us is something that actually keeps us away from people, gives us distance from people rather than brings us closer. And her point in some of the videos I've done is about kind of acknowledging that fact that we're not perfect. And it was just this came at a time which seemed convenient to share a session of coaching which didn't work out, I suppose is the right word. It at least got something that didn't get the outcome I expected. And I share it really just because I want to make sure that everyone realizes that sometimes, for whatever reason, both if I bring something to the session or for the client, it doesn't always work out. Some things don't always gel, which I think is important, because it's important to recognize that some things don't work out and that I can share that and own it and recognize it. And then more importantly, and maybe this is where there's a value for you, is how then we kind of come out of that, what we do to just understand it, take away some learnings from it, and then move on. And particularly without kind of bringing it kind of like with us. So the session that didn't kind of work out the way the client had hoped was very much about the person who wanted to make a change with a part that was kind of forcing against it. And we did a body of work and felt that broadly it seemed to be okay, but what I missed was something that I should have attended to, and there was some reticence from the client that they were slightly not acknowledging, but I could see. And what I didn't do was actually take some time to focus the session on that area and realize what was going on there, because it was things needed to get resolved behind the scenes before the final changes could be made. So that was a failing on my part to not recognize that sooner, or at least when I saw it, to not do something about it. And so it happens that on this occasion I missed something I should have paid attention to. I think that for my failing was to not read the situation enough, take the time to maybe slow it down at a calmer pace, rather than feeling not so much to whip through it, but to do it quickly. So I felt that I needed to slow down. And so sometimes sessions don't work out. Sometimes the client isn't in a space ready to get the change they're after, or I'm not in a place to kind of find all the tools necessary to help them leverage the change that they want. But what I take from it is I need to improve. I need to slow a session down. I need to make sure I'm following the steps that the client is able to follow and manage, and attend to any disharmony or resistance that may be coming indirectly from them. Absolutely, I was disappointed for the client. I would hope they had got what they needed from it. I had offered a follow-up session and they declined that as well, which I completely respect. So I take away all that I can really to try and learn from it. What did I do differently? What should I attend to? And it's really what I was just saying, that I needed to pay attention to some of the smaller nuances that the client was putting out there, and actually, rather than ignore them, make them the focus of the work. I think in reflection, had I spoken more about that, that may have then perpetuated all the changes after it. What I try and do now is to, having recognized that and taken the learnings from it, is now not to allow myself to be defined by it. We can often, and I've spoken in the past about this, take our failures, own them, keep them close, and then recycle them, and in our own minds begin to think we fail at so many things. Now, this may be true for you or people you know, that we are very good sometimes at repeating our failures and just basically reducing our confidence. Obviously, that's not where I want to be. I don't want to be having that. I need to go into a session with a client feeling that I've taken the learning and looking to improve. So what did I do? Well, how I handled it, how I managed it, was literally to recognize that pain that I had of disappointment, that things hadn't worked out, and turned it into, or reframed it to believe that this is the process of learning. This is actually what learning feels like. I slowed down for a second just to make that really clear. I reframed it. I reframed that disappointment as being the feeling of learning. This is what learning is like. And I want to just stay on this for a bit longer. Often we can struggle when we're making some degree of change. Now, this could be smoking, this could be regarding on a new diet, and there can be a struggle with the changing of behavior, change of pattern. But what if, for example, we're dieting, what if the sensation of hunger, despite the fact of having a full meal and having enough food, what if that sensation of hunger was actually a signal to say you're on the right path? What if we would say that actually this is exactly what you need to be doing? In fact, this is a affirmation feeling that you're doing what you want to do, which is maintain the diet for whatever objective you had. What if you turned those feelings and made them as recognition of the achievement rather than an old feeling of feeling hunger and therefore wanting certain food? I want us to link back to another video I did about labels and how our feelings are simply, we put labels against our feelings. They're not universal. What's happy for you is not the same for happy for me. And in the same way, we can relabel those feelings. Maybe scared is actually more excitement. We also do that with these kind of sensations when it comes to like the dieting analogy. It is that we can relabel that feeling to have a more powerful meaning. Well, then that becomes more useful and takes us closer to the changes we're after. So for me, I'm looking to, or I am relabeling that disappointment as being, well, this is the part of the process. This is the entry level to get better. Now, as I think about the idea of this is the entry level to get better and to improve what I'm doing, it diminishes any sense of failure or negativity that I'm kind of, you may have done in the past, and leaves just the idea, okay, well, fair enough. This is the battle scars of improving my fight, if you like. So I invite you to have a think about things you're disappointed over. Maybe you could try this reframe. Maybe you could find a way to say, actually, these pains I'm feeling are simply recognition of the change that's needed, and see how you feel. Maybe perhaps you won't feel so hard on yourself. Maybe you won't criticize so much. Maybe you won't see something as a failure anymore, but simply as a point of learning or growth or meeting the goal that you were after. For me, I know that I'm going to take away lots from what didn't work, reframing it as a process of learning and in a process of improvement. And that way I can continue to deliver more to another client. But to wrap this up, this video is about vulnerability and sharing my part of my experiences, which don't always work, because it's important to recognize those things, about being truthful to that rather than creating a pretense that is unreal. It's certainly far more interesting, I think, to know about things which don't work out as much as when they do, or some good advice I can offer. So I hope you got something from today's vlog, at least something to think about, maybe a useful tactic in how to change meaning for certain feelings. And other than that, I hope you're doing super well wherever you are, and I will catch you next time.
This is how legends are made.